Hey folks, welcome aboard. Glad you could join us today. This is in fact going to be our last live stream for this course. After today, we are going to be meeting in Zoom so that we can get together with our teams and actually do the project. So pretty exciting. But this last lecture is in fact pretty darned important. I kind of had this revelation today when I was, well, it was a shower thought, okay? I was in the shower and I had a thought. And here was the thought. I thought, you know what? We all go for the points, right? I know, I get it. I really get it. I even have a video out there where I talk about how unfair it is that we as a society have constructed this paradigm in which you feel driven to work for the points, okay? And I thought, you know, the question is not whether or not I'm going to give you an A. You're going to get an A. The question is whether I would hire you. Now, that's really what matters in a college education, is not what was your GPA. I don't give a rat's patootie what your GPA was. The question is, do you have the skills such that I would hire you and consider you a valuable contributor to the organization? Now, today our lecture is in fact on credibility. Let's go ahead and well, I'll pull up the screen here in a moment. But credibility is so important to our careers. Well, hell, screw that. It's important to our lives. And so while I believe that many of the lectures that we go over in this course are true life skill lectures, credibility more so than any others, because without credibility, your life is going to be pretty darn rough. And with credibility, you'll be able to move mountains. So with that, let's go ahead and get started here. Okay, so as it says here, we're talking about using credibility to influence your audience. Remember, the purpose of business communication is to influence and affect the attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors of those in the organization for a specific business purpose, right? And in turn, to be influenced by them. Well, your ability to influence is directly tied to your credibility. And so everything we've talked about is moot if you don't bring credibility to the table. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into this. What we're going to talk about today is what exactly do we mean by credibility, why credibility matters, and then what makes a credible source of information. This is for college, for business research, for reports, for analyses, you name it, we're going to talk about that. All right. So to begin with, we're going to start racking up some points right away. Let's play with this question for a moment. So my full name, with all the letters after it, is Lon William Schiffbauer, BA, MBA, PhD, SPHR. I have 25 years corporate experience. It's actually close to 30 years now. I've lived in 5 countries. I speak 3 languages, and I'm a 4-time Ironman finisher. Why would any of this matter to you as a student? Why would you care? So let's go ahead and explore that question for a couple minutes and see what we get. Okay, fantastic. Let's explore these and start racking up these light bulbs, right? So Renzo says, feel confident that you can learn in this class because, well, golly gee willikers, if the guy has all these credentials and experience and so forth, odds are he can help teach me what I need to know to be successful in the workforce. Okay, good. Let's see. Lauren, means that I'll be giving you credible information. Try my best to do that, Samuel. It lets me know that you are what you're talking there. I like that. I'm going to make sure I read that right. It lets me know that you know what you are talking about when teaching us. Yes, there's this great... So I'm a big fan of the Bourne movies, Bourne Identity, Bourne Supremacy, yada, yada, yada. Bourne Ultimatum. I really like the Bourne movies. And there's this really great scene in which Cox's character says to the gal, I forget her name, but he says, you talk about this stuff like you read it in a book. And that's just such a slam because she's like trying to run this operation. And he's like, you don't know what you're talking about. You have not been through the ringer. You have not been through the crucible, right? Where I have. It's a hell of a crucible, too. Let's see. Irfan says that you can help break the ice with students who aren't knowledgeable of your expertise. Yes, I can help introduce it in ways that are meaningful and so forth. And that gives us 4. Fantastic. So you get it, right? You get what we're talking about here is for me to be presumably for me to be respected and listened to and so forth as a professor, I need to bring credibility to the table. And if you do, so just to give you a quick story, when I was working on my bachelor's degree, the chair of the advertising department, and my bachelor's was in advertising. The chair of the advertising department had never worked day one in the advertising industry. She went from bachelor's to master's to PhD to teaching. So PhD in advertising, and yet never worked in the industry day one. Now, back when I got my bachelor's, and this was like 35 years ago or some crap like that, that was not odd. That did not seem out of place. In today's world, we would really question their credibility because if you've never worked in the industry, you talk about this stuff like you read it in a book. Okay, so I need to have credibility to be taken seriously as a professor. You likewise need to have credibility to be taken seriously in whatever endeavor you're going after. So let's get into that. What exactly do we mean by credibility? So let's define this. So credibility defined, the quality of being trustworthy, reliable, honest, and knowledgeable in a particular area of expertise. Now, the fact that I had all those credentials after my name, that says knowledgeable, right? But I then need to prove to you that I can be trustworthy, reliable, and honest. All of that flows into our credibility. Credible individuals and sources, we're going to talk about sources of information, are seen as having expertise, integrity, and a track record of proven, accurate, and reliable information. That's what we're shooting for here. They have gained the confidence and respect of their audience through consistent and transparent actions. And it is always my goal to gain some semblance of respect and from my students by consistently delivering transparent actions. You know what you're going to get. You know how I grade. You know how I work through problems and so forth. And so you can have confidence that you know how you will be treated from me. That would add or detract from my credibility. Okay. Now, some of the things that we have to think about also when it comes to credibility is the information that we provide, that we talk about, the information upon which we base our recommendations, our decisions. And information comes in many varieties, but the three that I want to look at today are facts, opinions, and beliefs. Now, I want to be really clear about this. Facts are awesome. Opinions are fantastic. Beliefs are tremendous. Everything is cool and awesome and copacetic. The problem is when we confuse them, when we confuse opinions for facts or facts for beliefs or so on and so forth. So let's make sure that we know what we're talking about here. So let's start with a fact. Something that has been observed, measured, and replicated, therefore proven to be true via the scientific method. Now, why do I have true in quotes there? Because we are constantly working toward understanding truth. We don't know what's true. We only understand what the scientific method has demonstrated to us to be true. But we are always moving closer to it through discovery of new facts and new understanding through the scientific method. So an example of a fact that I would posit to you is it is a fact that statistically, those with a college degree earn more over their lifetime than those straight out of high school. Now, let's break this down a tad. What I'm saying is statistically in aggregate. Now, you will always find outliers. You will always find people who are earning more outside of, just right out of high school than somebody who has a college degree. There's always outliers. But as a whole, you can be more or less assured that statistically speaking, the odds are in your favor if you have a college degree. This is a fact that has been measured and demonstrated time after time after time after time. Okay. Nevertheless, we're always trying to better understand it. All right. We don't just say, it's a fact, walk away. We're always trying to better understand it. Okay, so the next one is an opinion, all right? An opinion is a subjective statement we make based on how we perceive the facts. So we all see the facts. However, how we process that fact through our own filters of our upbringing, our culture, our view of the world, and our experiences and so forth, these generate opinions. So an example, and this is one of my opinions, in my opinion, college classes can be more effective and engaging if the professor practices a form of intellectual kit bashing. Okay. Now, what I mean by kit bashing, if you're into model making, I actually learned this from Adam Savage. Here's the point. If you're making a model and you're creating something totally new, what model makers will do, and they'll do this in special effects shops and so forth, is they will take models from all kinds of things, a tank, an airplane, a building, a car. They'll just take all kinds of models and just put the parts together however they want to create something new and original out of the parts of all kinds of models. This is called kit bashing. Well, I practice kit bashing by basically taking the techniques that I've seen from streamers on Twitch, from other lecturers, from entertainers, from TV shows, and so forth. I try to take all these things and push them together into a new whole, an amalgamation that is what you see here. Now, I don't have any evidence to support that this is effective. I have no evidence. It is not a fact that what I do here is more effective than just a Zoom meeting. I cannot claim that as a fact because I have not observed it, measured it, and replicated it over and over. But as I perceive the world, I just sort of feel like this is probably more effective. And so it's my opinion that this is effective. But I can't claim it's a fact. Okay. The third is a belief. A belief is something we accept as a guiding principle in our lives, one founded on faith and a deep sense of moral truth. I often say that a belief is kind of like an opinion on steroids, and one that you're willing to die for, right? Or at least really, really, really fight for. In the case of the opinion I have on whether or not this is more effective than just, say, a plain Zoom meeting, I'm really willing to explore the idea and be shown that I'm wrong and to come to a better understanding. I really, really like that. Therefore, it's an opinion, right? Whereas a belief is something that is just really core to who you are. So in my case, I believe that being late is a show of selfishness, thoughtlessness, and disrespect for the other person. Now, I want to be clear. Is it true? Not necessarily. That's not a fact. It's not a fact at all that when somebody shows up late, they're being disrespectful to me. However, I believe it nonetheless, right? It's an opinion doesn't need to, a belief doesn't need to be grounded in fact for it to really guide who we are and what we do and how we act and how we operate in this world. Now, I want to be clear. Once again, all three of these things are awesome. They're all great. They all have a purpose. The problem is when we mix them up. And this is important for our credibility. We don't want to state a belief as a fact. We don't want to state a fact as an opinion. Okay? We need to understand when we're making business decisions, we need to understand what we are working with. Okay? So that's one part of credibility there. Now, another part of credibility falls in the realm of dogma and axioms. Let's go ahead and define those. Okay? Dogma is a principle or practice established by an accepted authority as incontrovertibly true within a particular system of thought, such as religion, ideology, something like that. So what do I mean? Well, since it's established by an authority as incontrovertibly true, there is no doubt, it is obviously true that this is a fact. Well, the thing about dogma is nothing is incontrovertibly true. Nothing. It's kind of like, okay, the Earth orbits the sun. Yes, the Earth orbits the sun. Perfectly round? No, it doesn't actually orbit perfectly round. It kind of makes this interesting shape, egg shape, and sometimes it's farther and sometimes it's closer. And it's always going to be, no, it's not always been like that. Actually, the orbit has changed over the eons and days get shorter or longer. The point is, everything we are learning more and more and more about. And so when something is set forth as incontrovertibly true, you got to be really careful of that, especially if you are then going to use that as an axiom, which is to say a starting point for decisions that you make. So, for example, an axiom, a fundamental principle that is considered self-evidently true or intuitively obvious, serving as starting points for logical reasoning. So there's lots of axioms out there that make sense, right? However, when we use dogma as an axiom, things can get a little out of hand. So, for example, I'll give you an example. So the who's a what's it? The Ocean Gate. There we go. The Ocean Gate sub that went off to look at the Titanic and so forth and imploded. I just watched an interview that the CEO had done with somebody from Good Morning America. I watched this interview on YouTube yesterday. And in the interview, the interviewer, who did go down in the sub, but didn't get far, said, hey, some of your critics have said you ought to get this submarine of yours certified, right? I mean, you say you've done all these safety things, but you ought to get it certified. And the CEO was unequivocal. He said, no. Regulation stifles innovation. We are on the innovation front here. And we have all these safety things in place. We have 6 levels of redundancy. And this core, it's all set. And if we were to go after certifications, it would slow us down in terms of regulation, because regulation always slows down innovation. That is a dogma. That is a dogma because, no, I've got news for you. Regulation does not slow down innovation. We can talk more about that if you want, different venue, different class. But regulation can actually spur innovation. But since he had this dogma set as an axiom, which is this is my starting point, he rejected regulations and just kind of did it on his own and made the news. Okay? So this is what we want to look out for when we are making business decisions. In this case, we were talking about business decision that lives were dependent upon. Now, it's going to be a while before you and I are making business decisions in which lives are depending upon, but maybe not. Okay? So we want to think about that. All right. So why this matters, right? Why credibility matters and the stuff that we've talked about so far. By the way, Noah says, perfect current event. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing about current events and so forth. And boy, why was it? That should be showing. I need to show that and that. Yeah. So I needed that, and I'm going to go ahead and throw on one more. All these others were off because I was using this for something else the other day, but I should have realized. I apologize. But yeah, watch that interview. Good Morning America or Good Morning. Yeah, it's quite something. Sometimes it's a hard interview to watch because of the hubris of this guy. Anyway, you want to influence the behavior of those at work. That's what I'm positing. You want to influence people at work. You either want to influence them to back your projects, to work with you, to collaborate with you, to give you promotions, to give you raises, to give you venture capital, to buy your products. You want to influence people at work. Credibility is going to be key to that. When employees, colleagues, and managers perceive you as credible, They are more likely to trust your suggestions, inputs, and decisions. It's really that simple. Thing is, guys, life is so complicated that it's really quite simple. I know that's an oxymoron, but I work in oxymorons. The secrets to life are pretty darn simple. The problem is they seem too simple. And I'm here to tell you that your credibility is one of the major secrets to life. Okay? So, hold on. Well, I'm going to give it to you anyway. I pushed the wrong button, but you might as well benefit from it. Okay. This increased trust and confidence can lead to better collaboration, improved performance, increased job satisfaction, more money, more stability, more security, more options, you name it. It all flows from your credibility. Companies are always seeking, to varying degrees, to make data-based decisions. And so when you bring really good, credible data and information to the table to make these decisions, you're running the meeting. I really mean that. And in a lecture in a PowerPoint or a video that you saw about power and so forth, it's not who's at the top of the echelon who has the most power always. It's sometimes the person who has the best data. If your data is not perceived as credible, then you will be unsuccessful in helping to guide important decisions. You want to affect the behaviors of your audience, how they perform their jobs. If you're a manager, one day you're going to be a manager or a business owner, a leader in some workplace venue. I don't care if you're at the top of the org chart. If you're not perceived as credible, they're not going to listen to you. You might force them to do what you want them to do, but then they'll quit. That's what people do. They leave managers. It's difficult to affect behavior. It's all but impossible if you are perceived as an uncredible source. All right? It also matters when it comes to your career advancement. You guys care about your career advancement. That's why you're here, right? So, to a significant degree, others are in control of your career advancement, right? These are the organizational gatekeepers. Now, you may say, oh, it's a meritocracy, it's based on my performance, and so on and so forth. Yeah, but they need to perceive that as credible, you-based performance. You need to be able to accurately and credibly make the case for your career advancement. And a reputation for credibility can lead to greater opportunities for this. So, yeah, if you think a college degree will help you, you're right. Also, your own personal credibility and character will help just as much, if not more. Okay, so next what we want to do is we want to talk about what makes you credible. What are we talking about here? But to do that first, I think it is time to get up and stretch. So it is time for us to take a dance break. Let's do a dance break today. We'll do that one. They're over there. Okay, good deal. Good to get up and move and stretch and so forth. All right, so let's get back to this. What makes you credible? And we're going to challenge my credibility in this. So let's play with this. So first of all, your expertise makes you credible, which is why you're here, right? You're trying to add to your level of expertise. And so you're going to go off and get yourself that college degree. Having skills, knowledge, and expertise in a particular field can make you a credible source of information. Yeah, which is why you see my BA, MBA, PhD, SPHR, and you go, okay, the guy has some expertise. That's what you're doing. Education, of course, is a great way that we can show off these credentials, which is why you're here. Another way is through professional memberships. This demonstrates credibility. So, for example, the last 4 letters in my ridiculous name, SPHR, it's a senior professional in HR, and I'm a member of an organization called SHRM, which is senior HR manager, right? SHRM, right? Okay. Something like that. So the fact that I'm associated with these groups and go through their trainings and their seminars and so forth adds to my level of credibility. Confidence. Okay, guys, you need to embrace this one, okay? Confidence makes you come across as trustworthy and competent, giving the impression that you know what you're talking about and have a clear understanding of the situation. Now, I have a picture of myself here. I'm going to tell you a story. So I'm working at Intel at this time, and we have a new manager. Well, not manager, he's a director. We have a new director who just moved into the state to join us. He'd been with Intel for 25 years, working in manufacturing and so forth, and he just became our newest director over in HR. And I'm giving a presentation. I'm basically giving a project update. I've got the PowerPoint slides up there. They have data and so on. But I'm selling this thing, right? And this guy who doesn't know me at all and doesn't know my manager except for just a little bit, he leans over to my manager and tells her, you know what? I don't know what this project is all about, but Lon is selling it. I'm sold. Now, I want to be clear, the project did have good data around it and we were doing well and so forth. But confidence is what sold it to that guy, okay? Noah says confidence is really important in pretty much all situations. It's so true. Trash talking on the court is confidence, being self-assured and so forth. The fact that I do this really cringy dance break and all that stuff, that is all about confidence, okay? Now, you can fake it. Trust me. You can fake it. And I really recommend that you work on that you really work on. By the way, the studies have shown, this is grounded in research. Studies have shown that if you fake confidence, you will exude more authentic, true confidence. Your body will start to feel that confidence. The chemicals will start to flow. And so even if you're faking it, it will come across as authentic and eventually become authentic. So I highly recommend this. Confidence is key. Another one is consistency. Maintaining a consistent message and not frequently changing direction can help build credibility. Hey, you guys have noticed that all these slides and so forth, the branding is the same, the look and feel is the same, how I deliver it is the same. I'm often wearing the same shirt. That's another topic. Actually, it's kind of for this class. Anyway, consistency is important, okay? And it is all part of what Lauren calls there the fake it till you make it. And Noah, yeah. Noah and Lauren. It's just consistently deliver and stay on message. Now, when I say stay on message, that doesn't mean you can't evolve. You can definitely learn, evolve, and grow, and your message will evolve and learn and grow. But so long as it's based on credible information on what you're doing and it makes sense to those you're trying to influence, you're going to be fine. Okay, coming back on here, authenticity. Okay, when you are perceived as authentic, people are more likely to perceive you as trustworthy and honest, and therefore more credible. So I have my website here, Nutshell Brainery, and let's face it, guys, this is not, everything that you see here, this is not your typical setup for a business lecture. There's plenty of stuff that you see here that it seems really out of place for a business professor with a PhD wanting to be taken seriously. So it begs the question, now hold on, since I've got like comic books and stuff here and this thing, hang on, it's this one over here. I have comic book fonts and look and feel in my website. Gee, that doesn't come across as very credible. But the fact that it's authentic and I'm saying, this is me, and I invite you in, and I hope you will invite me into your world, and I am not trying to put on some sort of front for you, oddly enough, that creates a higher level of credibility than, does that dork really have a Batman ring on? Yes, it's a Batman ring. So, be you. Be authentic. Seriously, it's a superpower. Okay, let's keep going. Yes, we're over here. Your reputation matters. Your reputation matters. I have up here my reputation as expressed in Rate My Professor. Not that, this is my domain of self-worth or anything, but many of you and many of my students, when deciding from whom to take a class, you'll go to Rate My Professor to see, well, who's the highest rated professor? This is reputation. Therefore, my strong level of answer 5 and so on and so forth means that I will attract more students, which means I have the opportunity to influence more people. And if I continue to do so with authenticity and confidence and credibility and good information, then my credibility will continue to grow if I do it right and don't screw up. So your reputation matters. And by the way, employers talk to each other. So this is important. Okay. Finally, we're going to talk about what makes a credible source of information. All right. So this is especially important when you guys are working, and let me come on over here. This is really, 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 really important when it comes to putting together your audience analysis. All right. My bullhorn's over there. I'm not going to go get it. But please, please, please hear me when I say that when it comes to doing your audience analysis, credibility and credible sources really matter. So let's look at where we can get really good information. All right. First, credibility of the publication. All right. There are lots and lots and lots of publications out here. What you need to ask yourself is, well, is it unbiased or is it agenda driven? Is it peer reviewed? You don't have to use all peer reviewed sources. I'm just saying these are things you'd look at. Is it a well regarded publication? Now, this thing that you see up here, this is actually from a website called All Sides Media Bias Chart that kind of looks at all the main sources of, largest media distributors. Let's just say the largest media distributors, and kind of says, all right, are they far left? Are they left of center? Are they center? Are they right of center? Or are they far right? So, for example, when it comes to NPR, New York Times, they tend to be left of center. That makes sense. When you look at the Wall Street Journal, that tends to be right of center. Center tends to be more the Christian Science Monitor, BBC, Wall Street Journal News. Those. Now, if you look at the extremes on the left, we've got CNN, the Daily Beast, Huffington Post, MSNBC, Slate, and so forth. They're far left. On the far right side, we have, the Daily Mail, we have the Federalist, National Review, Fox News, and so forth. This is far right. Now, if you're looking for entertainment or you want to, for some reason or another, stay in your echo chamber on the left or right, that's fine. But if you're trying to provide credible information to help guide important business decisions in the right direction, you want to stay in the center-ish, right? So you want to look at the bias and credibility of the publication. Who are the authors? Are the authors actually experts in their field, or are they students cutting their teeth, or are they consultants who have been paid to write the article? I have been all three. I've written articles as an expert. I've written articles as a student just practicing, and I've been a consultant paid to write stuff. So you want to kind of see what is the situation in which they're doing the writing. You also want to understand what is the purpose of the study or the purpose of the article. Is it to actually add to the body of knowledge? Or is it to press forward an agenda or even sell something? When I've been paid to write articles, it's mostly to sell something, all right? But you want to think about, all right, why is this being written? Does it include sources? Does it include the latest as well as seminal works? Let's define those two things, okay? So the latest research is obvious. Oh, by the way, Ifrin says growing communication through credible sources is important. Absolutely. Absolutely. Could not agree more. The latest information is important because remember, we're always trying to get closer to the truth. We never understand perfect truth. We're always trying to get closer. So you want to include the latest research. However, you also want to include seminal works. A seminal work is something that kind of invented the idea and just has really stood the test of time. So, for example, you've all heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Well, Maslow's hierarchy of needs was written in 1947. So it's old, but it has really stood the test of time. Now, that's not to say it's perfect, and that's not to say that it has not been improved upon. It has, but it really demonstrates that you are dabbling in the expertise of something when you include seminal as well as the latest works. Do that, and it really works toward your credibility. Hey, discuss both sides, okay? If you are using a source that is fixated on one solution and one answer, it's probably not a credible source. On the other hand, if it is looking at several solutions and several approaches and several possibilities and opportunities, you've got yourself something pretty good there. If it belittles the other side or another solution, steer clear. All right. This, when reports and articles and studies belittle something else, that's them saying we don't have a leg to stand on, so we have to resort to schoolyard tactics and call the other person names. No, you want to make sure that you have a good, balanced piece of information. Where do you find these sources? Well, the first one's going to surprise you. Wikipedia. See now, hold on. Not Wikipedia itself, okay? Wikipedia, if you notice up here and so forth, it includes sources. So I love to turn to Wikipedia. And by the way, this is a standard practice in many college classrooms. So it's not just Lon being weird. I like to turn to Wikipedia because it can take a subject and break it down to some pretty simple parts that I can understand. But then it shows in the sources where it got that information. That's where you want to go for your sources. You don't cite Wikipedia. You go to Wikipedia to find the sources, look at that source, and cite the original source. But Wikipedia is a great place to start. I start there quite often. You can also go to trusted publishers like the Harvard Business Review. The Harvard Business Review comes out of Harvard, obviously. It's actually a magazine, so it's an honest-to-goodness publication. Sometimes some of the information is behind a paywall, sometimes not. The Harvard Business Review blog is very, very excellent. It quite often cites the articles published in the Harvard Business Review. But if you're using information from Harvard Business Review, from Wall Street Journal, from Forbes, from NPR, from, these credible sources of news and information, then you're for the most part in good shape. Google Scholar, okay? Now, I'm going to show you Google Scholar. I'm going to recommend it, but then I'm going to show you something better than Google Scholar, thanks to AI. Google Scholar is great. You go ahead and type in what you're looking for, and it'll feed up articles. The problem is, and don't worry, there's an answer to this problem. The problem is, the articles are often behind paywalls, and you can't get to them, but I'm going to show you how. But Google Scholar is a great place to go. The way to get the article that you're looking for is through the Salt Lake Community College or your institution's academic library. So here's the thing. You go to Google Scholar and you find an article that, oh yeah, this works. You find out it's a paywall. Well, you go to the library online and you type in the article or the author or whomever, and lo and behold, you now have it for free. So you want to use the school's library. Trust me, it's a valuable source of information. Now, this is the newest one because of AI. This is called Elicit, all right? And Elicit is fascinating. It's become my new go-to site for research. You go to Elicit and you type in a research question. And in this case, I said, what is self-esteem? And it'll do a few things. First of all, it'll give you a quick definition of self-esteem, as we see right here, there on the left. You can't see the mouse. I apologize. There on the left, it gives you a simple definition. But then here in the middle, it gives you articles that are actual peer-reviewed academic articles. And I actually looked at some of these, and one of them was one of the articles that I based my PhD dissertation on. So I was kind of like, oh, wow, this AI fed up an article that 13 years or 15 years ago I was impressed with enough that I based a dissertation on it. So this is a great thing. Once again, if you get stuck behind a paywall, you just take this information, take it over to the library online, and you can get the article. It's really good. I love this feature. Hey, and you know what? ChatGPT is a good tool. Be careful with ChatGPT. It will make up sources, okay? So in this, I asked in a short paragraph, define self-esteem and include seminal resources. And it gave me some books and so forth. And I then said, what about peer-reviewed academic research? And it then gave me a list of some peer-reviewed research. Most of those were correct and right. But you need to go in and look at the research yourself through the library to make sure that, yeah, it's truly delivering what you're looking for. And there you go. You're set. You've got, and yes, an hour, perfect. I know it's normally longer than an hour, but nothing wrong with getting through this, right? You now know everything you need to really start building your reputation and create that reputation and confidence as a credible source. And I really want to say again, I cannot overstate the importance of credibility in your career. So embrace it, please. So once again, this is the end of our live stream lectures. No more of these little pointy things and so forth, but I'll go ahead and throw another one in there so that we can get up to some points, right? But when we come back next week, we will be on Zoom. And the reason we're doing Zoom is these are going to be working sessions. We're going to work with our team members and start the audience analysis and the project and all that stuff. Of course, not all your team members can attend every single one. I get that. But so long as you're communicating and coordinating, everything's going to work out fine. I will help you do this. So just a heads up, be ready for Zoom next week. And that's it. I'm going to, as per usual, stick around and answer any questions that you might have. If you like, we can move over to Zoom if you don't want to share the question here. And we'll set you up. Otherwise, Noah, thank you very much. You guys have a fantastic day. And we'll talk to you again next week. Lauren, on the SLCC library, should we use a specific database? You know what? Yeah. So, Lauren, this is like a super good question. Back in the old days, you had to choose the database. And then if it didn't have it, you'd go to the next database. No, you just search up there at the top and it will search all of the databases. It's much better than it used to be. So much better. Michaela, you bet. We will see you again soon. You bet, Lauren. Get some more Something to look at besides this. You too, friend. You have a fantastic day. You bet, Noah. I need to have a screen that comes up that when we're in question answer session, it's a screen that comes up and just kind of shows some stuff, sort of like I did with my new intro, but instead of an intro, it's an outro. I need to do that. I'm going to make a note to myself for a end of class QA screen. I need to do that next. All right, looks like we're all set, folks. Have a fantastic week, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, Samuel. Have a good one.